Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Game Tasty Show for the week of February 13th, 2020. I am Dave the Watchman with NerdBacon.com.
And I am your friendly neighborhood Jeff Roth with NerdBacon.com.
It's been a hell of a day. We've got one sickie that is in my house, so that's why we're doing video this week instead of being together in the studio. But anyway, that's all I got. Jeff, it's a weird day. I feel like
we had a pretty eventful past few days between the two of us. I know you had the improv show over the weekend that went very well. Got great reviews.
Yeah.
Also, you could see it. You could actually see the lights on the thing thanks to me. So.
Yes. No, seriously, I was like blown away by the light work that you did. Like seriously, I was like, yeah. No, because you were interacting with us with the lights, you were playing with us and everything. You were just like way above and beyond, what I was hoping for.
I told you, man. I told you. You give me the switches, I'll make it happen.
Well, it's awesome. We're gonna lean on you a little bit more, I bet.
Hey, I'm more than happy to do it.
All right.
I know I got myself a new full-time job, day job pretty soon, so it's very exciting stuff for me. I can actually afford to live in my home office now.
Hey, we did it.
Yeah, and so it's been we've had a exciting past few days, and now we're here on the eve of Valentine's Day, the worst holiday of the year.
It's just a holiday.
I wouldn't even call it a holiday. It's just a reason to go buy cards that you'll throw away the next day anyway.
I don't know. I think Lauren keeps a lot of her cards.
Does she?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's a sweetie.
And we are now post XFL week 1.
Oh, that's right. The most important thing that ever happened in the history of happenings.
I did watch some of it. I was entertained by it.
That's what I hear. But everybody's like, it was a good product.
It's football. It's because it's not, Vince is not shoving WWE down your throat. They're keeping the football and the wrestling separate. So I actually enjoyed it. So
well, cool.
On today's show, we're going to be talking about a couple news clippings that I had back in my mind. I'm going to make a few 2020 predictions, and we celebrate the many very important landmarks of gaming that are celebrating some very important birthdays this year.
That is right. Let's go ahead and start with just a couple of tidbits of gaming news. First off, I think it goes without saying that I guess the big news is the non-news of the week, and that is everyone is still waiting with bated breath for a Nintendo Direct, and still no Nintendo Direct.
That might go into a prediction I have later on. But I have there were two news tidbits that I caught wind of today. I'll have you pick which one you want to hear first. One involves E3, one involves EA.
Let's go with the E3 one, because I think I know where you're going with that one.
The master of video games, Jeff Keighley, has said he will not be at E3 this year.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. Huge news. He's not going to do the E3 Coliseum.
Yeah, and he said it was, quote, it would not deliver to fans. So what that means to me is there was not enough content to be worth their time.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Is that just because a lot of developers just aren't going to show up to E3, or is stuff getting delayed?
Stuff getting delayed, I think, is a major part. This may play into I hate going back to it, but the coronavirus, it's affecting, more and more things. Obviously, the most important thing to affect is people's lives. I don't want people to think that we're just focused on games. There are way more important things than video games and console releases that it's affecting. We're a video game podcast. So I feel like it's delaying a lot because of that. And due to that, now a lot of releases coming out, not much to show. So if you don't have much to show, don't do it. And I think that makes the most sense, but is this also the snowball effect of, hey, is E3 going down the tube?
Right, and that was the immediate reaction that a lot of people were having yesterday when he announced that. And then there was this mild, brief moment of panic because they released the vendor list that had confirmed so far, and
Yep.
Nintendo's name wasn't on the list, so everybody's panicking like, "Oh God, Nintendo's pulling out of E3! Ah, it's over."
Yeah, but they came back later and said we're on that.
Yeah,
We're
they had made a statement earlier in the year, said, "Yeah, we're gonna be at E3. What are you talking about?"
But just chill.
Yeah, but the internet always rational.
What? What? No.
But yeah, it's really quite huge. So, if it's a lack of content, I think that is really disturbing. To me, I feel like this is kind of maybe a power play on Jeff's part. Maybe he's like, you know what? Why am I doing E3 Coliseum when I could do the Game Awards Coliseum?
Sure, but I'm going to be on Jeff's side here, because if you look at I want to make a wrestling analogy. If you're, let's say, if Jeff Keighley is the Cody Rhodes, let's say, and you have all this notoriety and all this stuff behind you where you can make your AEW, your Game Awards, why would you keep doing New Japan shots? I'm not saying they're worse. I'm just saying, if New Japan, Ring of Honor, if you have the means to do something bigger, why get yourself into a cage, basically?
I guess it's his perception. What's bigger? Is E3 bigger, or is the Game Awards becoming bigger?
The Game Award is becoming bigger. I think you put a tweet out with the numbers that more people watch that than like the Oscars.
Oh yeah, like twice as many people watch the Game Awards as watch the Oscars, and the yeah, that was a big thing. So it was like it was announced after the Game Awards in December, there were like 45 million, I think, unique streams. So that doesn't even give you an accurate picture of how many people were actually watching, because we simulcast it, so that counts as a unique stream, but there's 2 people watching. Right. And if anybody's watching our stream, then that's, But anyway, so 45 million viewers, let's say, of the Game Awards in 2019, as opposed to the Oscars, which happened this Sunday, which had like 25 million, maybe a little bit less, maybe 23 million. So those are still, impressive numbers, but you got to look at the growth. The growth trajectory of the Game Awards from 2018 to 2019, it was up 75%, while the Oscars declined from 2019 to 2020 by 25%. So it shows that Hollywood, their influence is collapsing, while the Game Awards and gaming in general is skyrocketing. So,
and I wonder if because the Game Awards is pretty much the main award show for video games. When we talk about entertainment, you have the Golden Globes, the Oscars, all the other ones. So it's not the only one. It's kind of the big one, obviously.
You sort of have that, I think Games Developers Conference has awards. DICE has awards. There are some different awards out there, but
they're not on prominent networks.
Right.
I mean, they can be. I don't watch them because I don't know about them, and they happen at they're over in Europe, and so it's like at the wee hours of the morning for us. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll
right.
This. So,
but yeah, it's really interesting. But going back to your point of, if it's something that there's just not going to be enough content, that does raise a really serious question about what is the real impact of the coronavirus. Now, I'm hearing reports that China is going to start putting some of these cities back to work within the next few days here or the next week. There is one city that they kind of reopened for business. People went back to work. One guy in a factory finds out, oh, he's got coronavirus. Whole factory, 200 people are quarantined, can't go home for 2 weeks. So it's a really sticky situation, and we definitely know that China is not being forthcoming with the real numbers. I think after our show last week, Tencent accidentally leaked their counts of the number of infected and dead, and the number of dead that Tencent had counted was like 25,000. Yeah, that's a hell of a lot more than it's just a few hundred that China is saying. And then they quickly pulled that down and put up what the official Chinese government was reporting there.
So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think this is a lot worse than what the Chinese government or our government is letting on.
And even beyond that, I mean, take that out of the equation. I think a lot of manpower and woman power is being so focused on the new technology, the new consoles, like the new streaming ways of doing it, that the games themselves kind of got lost in the shuffle. And because so much work is being done to how do we send these games out to gamers, the actual games, the taking the resources away from that is causing all these delays.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. It's just a very weird introduction to this console cycle. I think that we hit up on this a little bit last week, how it felt like next gen was originally slated to launch in 2019, but for whatever reason, we have no idea. It just feels like everything got delayed. So that's why the release schedule was a little bit wonky for everybody in 2019. And, now we're getting loaded for 2020 and we still don't have much in the way of a release schedule from anybody.
Right.
We thought we were going to see, all the speculation was, Sony's going to reveal PS5 in February. Obviously, they haven't done it yet. It sure doesn't seem like they're anywhere close to doing it.
I doubt it will happen. So
yeah, it's looking like March now, but I don't know. Who knows? It's not for us to know. I like speculating. I have no knowledge of,
and again,
of what's
like
going on
all this can wait, because if it involves the coronavirus, the important thing is getting it under control and stopping that. So games and consoles can wait. People's lives have got to come first. So that's where we come from.
And getting back to the whole Nintendo Direct thing that we started at the top of the show, and then we'll move on here. I have been of the theory that all of these guys do what I call moves and counter moves. So most of the people at the top of the industry kind of know the timelines of when people are going to do what things, right? Yeah. So there's all this speculation, it's right before January that, oh my God, Nintendo's got to do a Direct in the first week of January. And behind the scenes, I'm just like, probably not. Probably they're going to wait until, whenever Sony decides to do the PlayStation 5. Moves and counter moves. It's about getting your message out into the media, but also kind of cutting your opponent's message and time in the media short.
Right.
So if you have PlayStation 5 announcing in February and Nintendo is like, oh, we announced in January. So they had their time in the sun, and then Sony. Anyway, I'm going off onto a tangent here, but
you never do that.
No, never. I think that they all try to cluster around each other to kind of cut the knees out and not have so each opponent doesn't have like this huge full news cycle.
Sure.
You just have to kind of hit them with something else. That's my thing. So whenever Sony decides to show off PS5, I think that's when you'll get your Nintendo Direct, and you'll probably have a Microsoft announcement of some kind. I have no idea what in there. I'm just speculating. We kind of saw that in the fall of last year, like around that time that Apple Arcade got announced, and then we had a Nintendo Direct. We had the Sony State of Play video where they announced Last of Us 2, and we had Microsoft announce their xCloud beta test, all within that same week. So,
it's a real domino start to fall.
Yeah, that's what I mean by moves and counter moves.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyway,
all right.
Butts to me.
The other piece that I caught wind of today, it involves what Respawn's working on.
Oh.
It involves two things you don't like and two things that I do like.
Ooh, wow.
So according to, I was just watching some videos today of some of my favorite sites, and it came to my attention that Respawn is working on a VR title named Medal of Honor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that would be cool.
This seems cool. Medal of Honor, they tried rebooting it a handful of years ago with a couple games. That first game was actually all right. Warfighter was not so good. But Medal of Honor was kind of the main World War II game on PC. It was the Call of Duty before Call of Duty on PC. So to see a stellar company like Respawn taking their hand at VR and Medal of Honor going that way, that kind of excites me.
Yeah,
so
that would be That would be incredible. Where was this from?
I was watching on my Giant Bomb, as I always do.
Okay.
they were playing some Call of Duty, and they were talking about, hey, what's Medal of Honor doing? And I think it was Jeff Gerstmann that just said they're working on Medal of Honor, Respawn for Medal of Honor VR. So
wow, that's incredible. Funny story. I picked up a Call of Duty game today. I picked up Call of Duty.
Finally,
I picked up Call of Duty World War II because.
Okay, I actually enjoyed that one. People want to shit on it, but I actually really enjoyed it.
I've been kind of in that Medal of Honor mood for the past couple of months, and I had a 20% coupon for half price books, so I got it for like $11. I was happy.
That's a good deal. You playing it yet?
I have not played it yet. It's finished installing, but
no, I enjoyed it. My time with it. So.
For whatever reason, Crazy Town, I popped back in Red Dead Redemption 2 today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, dude.
I'm like, why did I stop playing this? This is cool.
I finally buckled down and got the PC version to see how good it was on PC, and
I bet it's incredible.
Boy, yeah. And I can actually get online with Red Dead Online on PC.
Oh, nice. Oh, I gotta try that. And I need to pick up Division 2 since it's only $3.
That's insane. So I guess they also just changed the way they're going to do their expansions going forward. It's kind of the big reason why they put this on sale is because they're going to do episodic stuff going forward. I think what the new I didn't do too much research on the new change of the DLC, but Division 2 is a great game, and if you got a couple of bucks to put on it, I think everywhere it's like $4 or $5. So
yeah,
buy it.
Okay, I will do that. As soon as we're done, I'll just buy it.
I wonder if it's cross. Are you getting on PS4?
Yeah, I'm gonna get it on PS4.
Yeah. I don't think there's crossplay, which is a bummer.
Yeah, that stinks.
I might just get it on PS4.
I don't think my PC can run it, unfortunately.
Gotcha. All right. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Do you want to do your predictions?
Yes. So Dave, you did your predictions last week.
Yes.
A handful of them. I threw a couple off the cuff. I think I'd said, you remember yours?
I know that one of them was SOCOM. We were going to see a SOCOM game for Sony.
Right. Okay.
And shoot, I don't remember what I said otherwise.
Okay. So I think I had two. I had said the AEW games coming out this year. And I think I said Half-Life 3. Because Alex just came out, and it makes so much sense to have Jeff Keighley this year at Game Awards walk out with a crowbar announcing, hey, in late 2021, Half-Life 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have three more predictions I want to get out there.
All right.
Number one. Nintendo has come out and said no new hardware this year. Okay, fine. But it might be a case of no new Switch hardware. I don't think they're going to go into the holiday season with nothing, because there's been a couple of things they've put out recently that sold gangbusters over the holidays, that being the NES Classic and the SNES Classic.
Oh.
I think it is time for the N64 Classic.
Hey!
I think that comes out this holiday season. So, because imagine if you're Mr. and Mrs. Watchman, your little son Dave wants a new game console. You go to your favorite Walmart or Best Buy, and you see this Xbox Series X for $500.
No, you ain't getting that, son.
A PS5 for $450, $500. What
the hell's the matter with you?
N64 Classic, $80 to $100.
All right, I love you this week.
See, and you figure.
I'm such a great dad.
Apparently.
To be someday.
Hopefully she's not hearing this.
No.
But you figure, like, what games do you put on there? Your Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Star Fox 64, Paper Mario. My question comes in, does Microsoft play ball? I think they will. Microsoft and Nintendo are pretty good buds at this point.
I caught them making out behind a McDonald's.
Well, so they're not sneaky friends, but they're friends.
Yeah. At
that point, then Banjo-Kazooie comes over. Then Perfect Dark comes over.
I could see that.
I don't think GoldenEye would, because of the licensing issues there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the wrestling games wouldn't, because licensing issues. But I think there's enough content and enough demand for an N64 Classic that would be a great thing to buy this holiday season. So N64 Classic, I think, comes out this year.
All right. I like it. Lock it in. Lock it in.
Lock that in.
I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Oh, thank you. All right, next up, back to EA. There was an announcement that the Need for Speed is going back to Criterion for the next game.
Yeah.
EA was on their Twitter recently saying, hey, can you name these games from these emotes? And one was like a traffic cone and a police car.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to think, I was talking about Need for Speed Heat, which came out end of last year, or the next Criterion game might be Hot Pursuit 2.
Ooh.
Which would make me very happy. Here's the thing. It's either going to be Hot Pursuit 2 or Criterion has had their hand at Hot Pursuit. Great game. They've tried their hand at Most Wanted. Great game.
Mm-hmm.
What if they try their hand at Need for Speed Underground?
Okay.
We've not seen Underground since Underground 2 way back in like the PS2 Xbox era. What if that gets revived? So I think that my prediction is that Criterion's next game either is Hot Pursuit 2 or a new Underground.
All right. I like it.
Though
I'm ready for good Need for Speed. I liked that first like revival of Need for Speed on PlayStation 4.
Yeah, no,
that was fun.
Yeah, those like FMV cutscenes were just so dumb,
Yeah,
but they were,
I love it.
I've heard that Heat is pretty good.
Okay, I haven't touched it.
I've got it on my Origin Access Premier, and I haven't hacked at it yet. So, but no, that'd be cool. Also, what if they do Hot Pursuit and then put like Road Rash DLC in there, like their own separate tracks and bikes and everything?
Just need to do a Road Rash game.
I know, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the time has passed for that. But anyway, all right, number 5, 5 total, 3 others episode.
Okay.
Last year, I predicted that Anthem's Game of the Year. I ate that one.
That's right.
I ate that one.
That's right.
I lost whatever credibility I had left on that one.
Come on.
But I'm going to predict this year's Game of the Year.
Oh my God.
According to the Game Awards.
Okay.
Because they go up until November, correct? They go through November, and then that's the cutoff date?
I believe so.
Okay. So the Game Awards, the Game Award for Game of the Year will go to Cyberpunk 2077.
I could see that, yeah.
I think there's just so much behind that game. I think this delay, while it sucks, it's going to make the game even better, and I think it's just going to blow people's minds.
I hope so. I hope for any game that releases to be good.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting because we've got. I think it's going to come down between Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy VII Remake.
But see, I don't think it'll get it. The same reason why RE2 didn't get it.
Just because it's a remake?
Right.
I don't know, though. It's so different. Plus,
so is RE2.
You're also going to have Last of Us 2 in the mix. You're going to have Sekiro. Or not Sekiro. Ghost of Tsushima in the mix.
I know. They're going to be finalists for sure. I just think Cyberpunk will just be too much. Mm-hmm. I think Cyberpunk's going to take it. So
Nintendo's only release for the year will be Animal Crossing.
Oh my God, it's coming up soon. Oh my God, it's coming up soon. I can't wait.
No, I
can't wait to play that and Doom the same day. Be a weird spectrum of games. So yeah, N64 Classic comes out this year. A new Need for Speed, either Hot Pursuit 2 or Underground, and Cyberpunk is your Game of the Year according to the Game Awards.
I like it. It. What if Half-Life Alyx ends up winning Game of the Year?
It won't.
Jeff shakes.
So, it won't. Again, I've not played it, but I think that's just VR games kind of get looked down upon anymore. I don't know why that is.
Well, with the Half-Life game coming to VR, and then what you were talking about from the Giant Bomb podcast with a Medal of Honor VR game. I don't know. I think we might start seeing and finally the turnaround for VR.
And we keep seeing new revisions, like the Oculus Go, the Oculus Quest. More powerful VR stuff, and I'm assuming will be a new PSVR. I think they said the last one will come over, but they'll make it updated hardware. Like there is still a market for VR stuff. I think they got to find the right. They have to take off. We're still in proof of concept right now.
They've got 50 bajillion patents out on PlayStation VR right now, it's going to be impressive.
Right. Okay, Dave.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
that was your jacket.
That was my
pants.
jacket. Yep.
All right. So 2020 marks a very important year in the world of gaming. So let's look back at a couple of years.
The year it all collapses.
That's right. This could be another video game crash. But plenty of games and systems and landmark moments are celebrating either the 25th or 20th anniversary. And in that spirit, today we shall look at a bunch of games celebrating their birthdays in the year of 2020.
Alrighty, I'm ready. This will probably be part. We're probably gonna have to split this up into multiple weeks.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You want to start with the one celebrating the 25th anniversary?
Yeah. Let's do 25th,
okay.
And I'll let you go through the list here, or
year,
start off.
The year was 1995. Yeah. I was going to turn 10 years old.
Ooh, I was turning 15.
Now what fell over?
That Chrono Trigger poster.
Speaking of Chrono Trigger.
I know, that's in there.
Right. No, so yeah, 1995, I turned 10 years old. I was in the 4th grade. And coming out around that time, well, okay. You want to just go like from the very beginning of the year throughout, or?
Yeah, I think let's do that. Let's go through the beginning of the year throughout.
Okay. So I want to see, because a couple of major systems came out in that year. So I'll kind of save those till last, I suppose. We'll do games first. So, February 15th for me, Star Wars Dark Forces basically was Star Wars Doom. And it rocks. Like, I played a lot of that game. March 10th was a game called Panzer Dragoon.
Ooh, Panzer Dragoon. That was Saturn, right?
Correct.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah.
That may have been the Japanese release. I think because the Saturn didn't come out until later on that year.
Let's try and stick with the U.S. releases. So what do you remember about Dark Forces?
That first level I can still do blindfold at this point, I think. Because I played the crap out of it. I just thought it was super cool to not just always have a lightsaber. Because that was just always the thing in Star Wars was like, you got a lightsaber. Okay, not everyone's a Jedi. So you give me an assault rifle or a laser rifle and gunning down. Because the first stage is basically in like what looked like the Death Star.
Okay.
But it was just it was rad. It was just because I was still a fan of Doom at that time and a first person shooter in Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, give me all of that. So
I didn't have a PC that could run anything close to that at the time. So it's one of the many games that I missed.
But it also came out on PS1.
Yes, I do remember it coming out on PS1. But again, I never got around to playing it for whatever reason. So
right. So I'm just going from Wikipedia, from their listings. I'm not sure what they're saying for their what country it is, but Chrono Trigger obviously came out in 1995. It is your favorite game of all time.
My favorite game of all time. Yeah, it came out in August, I want to say, of 1995.
Yeah, Wikipedia has it in March, but that's probably, again, these are probably the Japanese.
Yeah, that might be the Japanese
releases, and it's not giving me any other releases. So
Chrono Trigger was the first role-playing game that I ever played. And I found out about it because I started subscribing to Nintendo Power about that time, and they had like their RPG section. Like RPGs hadn't quite blown up in America yet because Final Fantasy VII, hadn't happened at this point. But with that being said, RPGs were starting to get this underground popularity because the Super Nintendo had so many great RPGs, and that was really kind of fueling it. And Final Fantasy 3, which would have been 6 in Japan, that's it wasn't like a blockbuster in the US, but it sold well enough to get its fan base together. So Chrono Trigger was this dream project between the makers of Final Fantasy from Square and then the makers of Dragon Quest from Enix. This was before Square and Enix merged into one company. So this was the dream project between those two. They had the artwork done by this famous manga artist named Akira Toriyama.
Buddy.
Does all the does all the Dragon Ball Z and a number of different anime and manga stuff.
Also, Tobal #1.
That's right. So it was this beautiful coming together of two companies into kind of this once in a lifetime project. So I started reading about it in the summer in Nintendo Power's Epic Center, And it just, to me, it's just like looking at the screenshots, because this was on a 32 megabit cart at the time, which was huge for Super Nintendo. So it had these beautiful lush graphics, and the art design that we were seeing, like they had some of the Akira Toriyama art in Epic Center and everything. And the way that they wrote the article, I wish that we could talk to that writer who wrote the Epic Center articles, because that, whoever did that changed my life. But just reading about it, it intrigued me. It just started capturing me. I couldn't get the thought of Chrono Trigger out of my mind, and I hadn't even played it yet. So finally, I was like, I'm gonna take a chance. So I rented Chrono Trigger, and yeah, I had to get used to the whole turn-based RPG system, because I had never played a turn-based RPG. But I was blown away. I was blown away by that beautiful art design. I was blown away by the exquisite music, which music just has such an important role for me in video games. It's like if a game or a movie doesn't have good music, then it doesn't capture me. But if a game has a good music, then that just elevates things to an exceptional status. So that captured me, but it was the story that really got me. And again, this was my first RPG. You got to remember, this is little baby Watchman who's playing this video game here. And I just remember thinking, wow, I could not believe that a video game was able to convey such an intricate story. And Chrono Trigger, of course, is this beautiful story about time traveling. And so things that you do in one period of time affect things in other periods of time. It was just an amazing, fantastic ride through all these different ages. But it captured me like no other game has captured me prior to, or really I'd say since then. I mean, there's plenty of games that I've played since then that I absolutely adore and love. But I think in the review that I wrote for Chrono Trigger, I started off by saying you always remember your first time. Yeah. And I will always have fond memories of my first RPG, my first role-playing love, which was Chrono Trigger.
And you are correct. So it came out August 11th, 95 in the States. So yeah, at this point I had missed it, mainly because I was a Genesis kid. Because growing up after Nintendo, you either went Genesis or SNES, and I went Genesis.
You made the wrong choice, my friend.
No, I saw Sonic, and I'm playing that. Also watching that this weekend, hopefully.
Oh yeah, that's out.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. So, but no, yeah, I missed out on the Chrono Trigger because I was playing Genesis, and even then, I was not a big JRPG person. I wanted to play action-based games. So I didn't want to hit fight and then wait to get punched back in the face. I was like, So, obviously, I have dabbled in the game since then. Have not been able to fully get through it. I have obviously watched playthroughs of it, but yeah, it's a landmark game, very important game, beautiful game, well worth all the praise that is bestowed upon it.
It's one of those games. It's the game for me that everybody has their dream announcement. And it feels like everybody has been getting their dream announcements made, except for me, because the dream announcement for me is something new that's Chrono Trigger related, whether that's, like a remake or finally a direct sequel. We had Chrono Cross, but Chrono Cross, while it had some elements that tied into Chrono Trigger, I don't know if I'd consider it quite a direct sequel.
Sure.
And there were some elements of Chrono Cross that just kind of put it on a lower tier compared to Chrono Trigger. And I think that's because they had all these, like Chrono Cross's big thing was, hey, we're going to throw 40 characters that you can bring into your party. So you never really got like the connection to those characters because they had everything spread out so thin. But my dream announcement is something new Chrono related.
Because we kept getting re-releases. We kept getting, here's the Steam version, here's the iPad version, here's the DS version. We just kept getting the same game over and over. It's like, do something else,
Yeah, I would love to see something else. But then again, there's nothing that they can do that's going to equal that memory for me of playing Chrono Trigger for the first time.
Right.
I don't think that there's nothing that they're gonna be able to do to stand up. So, while I would love to see a new game in the Chrono franchise, um, I also understand that we probably shouldn't see another game in the Chrono franchise.
Kind of just let it be its own thing, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sad, but sometimes you just do have to let those things be.
Sure. You don't want something bad to ruin it, basically.
Right, exactly. You
Yeah.
know, you get this perfect moment in time where everything just comes together to create a masterpiece, and you can't, no matter what, you can't go back and try and recreate that, because it's just,
Sure.
you might have the same people working on it. Think about, it's like Arrested Development. Those
Okay.
first 3 seasons were
Yeah.
just glorious. And then seasons 4 and 5 are, while somewhat amusing, they don't capture the same spirit that those first 3 seasons did. And why is that? You've got the same cast, you've got the same writers, same directors and everything. I mean, on paper you would think, "Oh, well this is going to equal something brilliant." But there's this intangible something that happens when everything just congeals at the right time and right moment. And maybe it's
Sure.
just like the space that everybody's head is in. I don't know what it is. There's just like a certain energy that just like blesses projects.
It might be like, I've seen all I need to see from this, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to and that anymore. It's like, okay, that's enough. It's kind of like, for me, Last of Us. Like I saw what I needed to see in the
Oh
first game.
yeah.
Second, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that they decided to go ahead with Last of Us Part 2, but
So I'm sure it'll be great because Naughty Dog makes great games. Period. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, moving on.
yes, let's move on.
I wanted you to have the floor because it's your favorite game ever. So I want to make sure you had some
I've eaten up a lot of time on that one.
time for that. Next up, March 14th, a game I was playing recently on the Game Boy, Mario's Picross. Are
Okay.
a lot of people's introduction to the Picross world.
I still haven't had my introduction to the Picross world.
You should. It's addictive as hell.
So what is Picross?
It's like it's a puzzle game.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this grid, and it basically shows you on top and on the sides how, like, a number, showing you, hey, this is how many squares in this grid are colored, basically, are colored in.
Mm-hmm.
And you use that info to make a picture.
Okay.
And they've been doing Picross games that even today they do Picross games on the Switch, but they're just enjoyable as hell puzzle games. Picross 3D on the 3DS is one of my favorite puzzle games. Period. Very addictive, and once you get in, you get hooked. So Picross, good shit, man. What came out? Well, I'm sure this starts naming names here. Mega Man 7 came out. The 7th Mega Man game on the Super Nintendo. Japan was in March. September here in the States.
Oof, that's a tough one. That was at the end of, well, not quite the end of the Super Nintendo run, but we were getting really close. September, you had PlayStation that was launching in the US. That, talk about a game that got overshadowed.
Yeah. And the X games came out. I was like, oh, okay. They made X games they're just better. Like,
yeah, there's
the SNES ones were better. The PS2 ones, like, oh no.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Did you ever play through all of Mega Man 7? Because I sure didn't.
No.
I played
at some point. I just gave up on kind of the older Mega Man game. Like, okay, I got my 6 on NES, and I'm kind of good now for a while. But
I should try playing through the 7th one.
I should. If only I had a means to. Oh yeah, I do. All right. What hit the arcades in April of '95? A little fighting game called Mortal Kombat 3.
That was in 90. For some reason, I was thinking it was sooner. No, you're right. 95. Oh my gosh.
And then ports came at arcade in April. The ports came out for the Genesis, the PS1, Super Nintendo. The Game Boy got a port of it. Yeah, it's okay. MK3 is great and all. I just preferred Ultimate MK3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just, just the little tweaks made it even better.
I remember going to Laser X excited to check out Mortal Kombat 3. I think we talked about this maybe in private a couple weeks ago, but there was just like this feeling when you went to go and play a Mortal Kombat game in the arcades. It was just like, oh my God, now this is for real now.
Yep.
I'm playing, this is a grown-up game.
Yeah.
I felt like this pressure playing a Mortal Kombat game. Like, this is way, way beyond my age level here.
Right. It's like people are watching me. I don't know fatalities.
Right.
But yeah, I know, growing up playing Street Fighter all the time in arcades and then seeing a Mortal Kombat machine for the first time and just saying, oh God, they're getting decapitated. Like people are actually dying in this game. This is for the big boys. And, it's a lot of pressure playing MK.
I definitely remember playing the Super Nintendo version a lot more than the arcade version. And what I remember most about that is just the horrible artificial intelligence.
Oh yeah.
They had this weird thing, no matter what difficulty you picked, where they would have like this seesaw AI. So like your first opponent that you would face off against hardly would do anything. Like you could just stand there and your AI opponent would probably just stand there as well. And just super simple, like dullard AI.
Mm-hmm.
And then the very next person you would face, oh my gosh, this is like a god in the ring here. It would be so hard. So you beat that one. And then the third opponent you would face, back to dullard AI. And then the fourth guy you would face, it was like every even number was really hard. Every odd number was really easy. It was really, really strange. I don't know how that happened.
It's funny to look back at like old school fighting game AI and just how ruthless it could be compared to today's fighting games.
Oh yeah.
Like you talk about making it accessible. The AI in today's fighting games is nothing compared to what it used to be. Even on the easiest difficulty back then, it would still you still get your ass kicked. And as somebody who owns the MK arcade machine from Arcade 1-Up, I will tell you that the AI in the arcade is still kind of brutal.
Well, yeah, they were like, "Hey, we got
want your coins.
We gotta get your quarters, dude. Come on."
That's right. We'll talk about Mortal Kombat here in a little bit. All right. Game came out in August of 94 in Japan, but in the States in June of 95. Talking about RPGs, Earthbound.
Earthbound. There is a game. I did not get on the Earthbound bandwagon when it came out. And when did it come out in the US?
So June 5th.
June
95 was in the States.
Wow. June 5th. Okay. Yeah.
This was a game that I also missed out on for my Genesis reasons, but looking back at this game and just the cult following that it has,
mm-hmm.
And just the fact that people's lives were changed based on this game, like all the introspection and like all like it makes you search your soul and your feelings. I'm like, whoa, a game can do that, and this game and from all I've heard, this game is just and the little bit that I actually have played of it, it's just like this could be it's more than just a game. It's a experience.
I would like to play through. I started playing through Earthbound on stream like a couple of years ago, back when I was still doing Saturday morning streams. Right. The thing that kind of got me was that this game it's a lot tougher than you would think, given the graphic style. It's a much more simple art style than something like Chrono Trigger, which came out in the same year, but it still holds up really well today.
Right.
But man, oh man, it is just a brutally difficult game. I was really surprised.
It definitely can be. And I know this is a part of the Mother series.
Mm-hmm.
The first game was NES or the Famicom in Japan. This is Mother 2, Earthbound, Mother 2 to us, and then Mother 3 came out in Japan for the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
I believe. I actually did get a fan translation of that, so I'm hoping to maybe dig into that a little bit, Mother 3. But yeah, people just keep saying Earthbound might be their favorite game of all time, and just like again, the following is just absurd, and it's something that people should experience, really.
I will try and get through all of it. I think it's on the Super Nintendo Classic as well.
You are correct,
all
and
right.
I believe you're correct. And yeah, all the influence of this in Smash Brothers, like obviously it's a big thing for Nintendo. So it's weird that there's only been one game released in the States.
It's very odd, and that game is 25 years old. Funny story, I was convinced back in 2018, I was convinced that Nintendo was working on a brand new Earthbound game.
Right.
For those who don't know, I was looking at, you know, I was looking at the game being developed by Retro Studios. And that's because Earthbound is it takes place in kind of a 50s American setting. Is that correct?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of a throwback to like 50s sci-fi culture and stuff like that. So it's like, what better studio to really dig into a game with like a 50s sci-fi culture vibe than an American studio?
Right.
Retro would fit that bill.
Mm-hmm.
Retro's modus operandi is in reviving old Nintendo franchises. They did it with Metroid. They did it with Donkey Kong Country, and so putting them onto an Earthbound project would seem like a logical fit. Sure. Retro also had hired a ton of writers back, several years ago, like, writers with a lot of credibility, which would point to something a bit more ambitious than, just another Donkey Kong Country sequel. So again, what would require a lot of writing? A role-playing game. So
yes.
I took those elements, put them together, and I was convinced that Retro was working on a new Earthbound. I'm pretty sure that I'm wrong after 3 years now, but man, it's a nice thought to think. What if they were working on it or did work on it? I don't know.
Something like that could take a number of years, so I don't think you're wrong just yet.
I think I'm wrong, but
okay.
We'll see. You never know. I could be shocked. I could be shocked by my own brilliance. I'm usually shocked by my own stupidity, so I got to be shocked by my brilliance at one point.
Well, you're due for one, I tell you. All right. What hit the arcades in June of '95?
Syphilis.
No. Another fighting game. This one called Street Fighter Alpha.
Oh my gosh, Street Fighter Alpha.
So it got released later on in like the next year on PS1 and Saturn and what have you, but it hit the arcades first in '95.
That was a game. I don't think it came to any arcades that I frequented in Iowa.
I don't think so. My first foray to this was the PS1 version.
Yeah. But I
oh
remember
my god, this game.
reading the magazines back then, just looking at it, being like, damn it, Capcom, why can't you count to 3? Because they still hadn't given us Street Fighter 3 at that point.
Right. We had 50 versions of 2.
Yeah, I was like...
And they were good. I mean, I'm not saying that they were... Well, Super was kind of Super was kind of my way into Street Fighter for the first time, playing the Genesis version of Super.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back overall, Super might be like the weakest version of 2. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But yeah, oh man, Alpha. That whole series.
Alpha
oh my god.
Something special.
Oh my god.
Alpha 2 and Alpha 3 especially, man. Picking the different isms. Yeah. Good stuff.
I was more like Alpha 2 guy, kind of before all the isms came into effect. I loved Alpha 2. Alpha 3 was great, but I just was more of an Alpha 2 guy.
I was a huge Alpha 3 guy. Like I think that was my introduction into the Alpha series, and that kind of transitioned me out of old Street Fighter 2 finally into a new age of Street Fighter. I just remember playing Alpha 3 with a ton of friends. Like every week we would get together and like play fighting games, and Alpha 3 would always end up being the main event.
Yeah.
So, I put a lot of time into Alpha 3 on the PlayStation back in the day.
Yeah, a lot of Alpha got played on my PS1, that's for sure. Still does to this day. What came out on the SNES in, where's my date at here? It was, it's right here in front of me. September 95, thanks Wikipedia. Castlevania Rondo of Blood, or Castlevania Dracula X on the SNES, which was the port of Rondo of Blood.
Yeah, there's another one that I missed.
If those are watching, the better version of that is the TurboGrafx CD version of that. It's just a better version of that game. But it became Rondo of Blood, which we finally got on the PSP, like the Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles, I think.
Okay.
Still a great game though. If I click this properly, it'd be great. In my releases here. Worldwide in the arcades, July of 95, King of Fighters 95.
Ooh, that would have been the second one. Is that right? Did 94 kick it off?
So, I'm going to pull this up now because the original Final Fight was called Final Fight The King of Fighters. but the first release was, you're correct, KOF 94.
Okay.
In August of 94 was released. And topical, new ones coming out this year.
I cannot wait to finally see some information on King of
Right?
Fighters 15.
Man.
All right, so let's go off topic just for a second.
Okay.
Graphic style. What do you want? Do you want to stick with like kind of the modern polygon look like King of Fighters 14? Do you want to go with more of a Samsho sprite, kind of like a Street Fighter 4 style comic look, or would you rather see something like Dragon Ball Fighters?
That's what I kind of want to see. And I'll kind of drift it for a second. So last night on stream, I was playing for the first time a little game called Under Night in Birth EXE latest.
Oh, nice.
And that game is exactly what I want New King of Fighters to look like, which I think is kind of what it looked like for KOF 13.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that's kind of what I want them to lead into. 14 was fine. It was different, which I appreciate them doing different.
Mm-hmm.
But for 15, I kind of want them to lean into the what brought them to the dance. 12, 13, dig back into sprites a little bit with some of these yearly ones. That's what I really want.
I would be quite happy if it went that route. I would also be quite happy if it went sort of like the Sam Show route.
Sure. Yeah.
I thought King of Fighters 14 looked okay. It was a little ugly though, so I'm not gonna lie. Great game.
You're not alone. Many people thought that when it came out.
So I think they could do a lot more if they went with the stylized look. But anyway, I digress.
I'm just glad that SNK is making fighting games again. I'm glad that Sam Show was good. I'm glad that KOF's coming back. SNK was the king of fighters.
Yeah.
For the longest time, and so I'm glad that they're now just need like a new Last Blade or something. That's all.
Art of Fighting 4.
Oh my god,
no. no. Mark of the Wolves 2.
That's what I really want. New Mark of the Wolves game.
That's the game that needs to be in like the Under Night style of graphics.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
Give me some Kirkwood butt because the character's name is Butt. I love it. Man. I was playing Garu Mark of the Wolves yesterday.
Good. It's
so good. It is so goddamn good. All right. Now we'll get to it because I'm going to hate myself. So next on Wikipedia's list, in Japan in August and worldwide in October, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island.
Yes!
Just a terrible game. Just a terrible game. It is
not a terrible game. It is one of the best games that ever came out on the Super Nintendo.
No, it would be fine if it wasn't called Mario World. It has nothing to do with Mario World. It's got a baby that won't shut the hell up, and it's got just the bad Yoshi diagonal controls to throw a damn egg. Why can't I push a button and a direction to make an egg go? Why don't I wait for the clock to strike a certain time?
You can.
It's a bad game.
No, you can. You can hit a direction and like auto target.
It's a bad game.
No, it's not.
And the art style is just bad. It's a bad game.
Okay. Jeff's mad because he's not very good at Yoshi's Island, and that's okay.
Bad game.
There's plenty of games that I'm not very good at. Here's why Yoshi's Island is brilliant. I can kind of see the frustration with, golly gee, this should not have been called a Mario game. But you know what? You want to put a Mario game out there. You want to get the Mario branding out there because it had been like 4 or 5 years since we last saw Mario on the Super Nintendo with Super Mario World. So Yoshi's Island, what's beautiful about it? It's beautiful because of its art style. And a game it's so bold that in an age when everybody was jumping on this, oh my god, the Silicon Graphics bandwagon, because we had Donkey Kong Country that came out the year before in 1994, revolutionizing what could be done on home consoles with silicon graphic powered workstations. Everybody's trying to go for this computer look. But then here comes Miyamoto and his team, and he says, no, wait a second here. We're not going to try and be really advanced. We're going to try and bring it in, and we're going to tell a little bit more of an intimate artistic story. So they go with like this sketchbook crayon style artwork. Not like overly cutesy, but like the rest of the Yoshi games ended up being. I think the rest of the Yoshi games have gotten ridiculously like cutesy.
Yeah.
But Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, it had just the right level of artistic cutesy flair to it that made it really stand out among all the other Super Nintendo games that were out there. The gameplay itself was I thought it was fantastic. Yoshi has the ability to throw eggs at enemies, and he uses that really not quite as a combat mechanism, but really as a mechanism for the exploration of the world. And that was really what this game brought to the table, was the incredible amount of exploration that you could find in a 2D game. We really hadn't seen anything to this level in a platformer before, and it really set the mold for platformers going forward about what all you could really do with that level of exploration. It also set the standard for all the different collectible items that you would find in Mario games as we went forward. This was the first game where you had like red coins like you would find in Super Mario 64. You had the flowers that you could collect. You had all sorts of stuff. So that game kind of set the stage for future games where you had red coins, you had stars that you were collecting, you had all this other stuff, and not just Mario games, but other games, other platform games as well. So I think if you really look at Yoshi's Island, you see something that is an absolute brilliant, pioneering masterpiece of 2D platforming from the master Miyamoto himself. So it's one of the top 10 games on the Super Nintendo, and it's definitely up on my list of greatest games of all time.
No to both of those. Holy cow. Top 10 on the SNES? You kidding me? No.
Yes, it is.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. This year, at some point, I will play through the game. I will stream it. I will suffer through it, and we'll do it for charity. How's that?
It sounds good to me.
All right, so sometime this year, we'll figure out a time where Dave can sit there and make fun of me the entire time while I play through.
No, I'll sit down there and explain to you the brilliance of game design in Yoshi's Island.
I will put myself through hell and actually play a bad game.
You will put yourself through paradise.
I can guarantee I can name a bunch of better SNES games. Anyway, moving forward. You done praising a bad game?
It's a fantastic game. It's a 10 out of 10 in my book.
Okay. Wow. No. Bring it back.
It is.
Bring it back.
10 out of 10.
Bring it back. Okay. Moving on. September 26th, 95 in the States on DOS, we got a game that began a revolution for me, Command & Conquer. I got way into Command & Conquer during the Red Alert times. A bunch of friends in middle school would play a lot of Red Alerts, then into Tiberium Wars, and that's where I became familiar with the nod and the GDI, and it was kind of my first really big RTS.
Mm-hmm.
I played... I don't remember when Age of Empires 1 came out at first, but I think I did not get into StarCraft or the Warcraft games, but Command & Conquer, Red Alert especially, I got hooked on that kind of game. So that was big for me.
I never really got a chance to play the Command & Conquer games, but do you remember a couple of years ago, EA tried to launch the mobile version of Command & Conquer? It's so sad that just didn't work.
Is that still going?
I don't know.
I played it. It's fine. It's just like this is what Command & Conquer is now. The best part about the Red Alert games though is the cutscenes.
Yeah,
they do the FMV cutscenes. I forget which one Tim Curry's in, but Tim Curry's playing as like the Russian side, and it's phenomenal. Oh god, it's so campy. It's the best. And Ric Flair is in the expansion for Red Alert 3, and
Nice.
he's the Allied General. If you ask him to this day, he forgets even doing it. Like, he has no idea it even happened. But this, and he is in full Ric Flair whoop mode the entire time. It's YouTube that. YouTube Ric Flair Red Alert 3,
I
and just
will.
sit back and enjoy. It's good stuff. On the Genesis, August 2nd, the day after my 10th birthday, a game called Comic Zone, a game that I played a lot of Genesis. I realized it's gonna be it's a fine game. Like I want a new Comic Zone really bad. For me, it was the art style. The fact that I was way into comic books this time, DC and Marvel. It's like I'm playing a comic book. This is really cool. So I was way down for Comic Zone.
I have played that. I haven't played it through to completion, but yeah, you're right. It is a really cool side-scrolling beat 'em up. The art style is really unique. So yeah, definitely kind of an unsung classic of the 16-bit era.
Correct. Now that Toe Jam and Earl's doing so well, I want to see a new Comic Zone. According to Wikipedia, August 3rd, the first version of this game hit the arcades. It would come to console the next year, Tekken 2.
Okay.
So the first version hit arcades in 95, but I think we finally got it around 96.
Okay, that makes sense. And then Tekken 3 would have hit arcades like in 97, and then it hit consoles in 98.
Well,
yeah, I didn't get into Tekken until Tekken 3, but
yeah, I was playing a lot of Tekken in the arcades, and oh boy.
What drew you to Tekken 2?
I'm trying to think which one I actually played the most of. I just think I want to play a fighting game with like this guy with the crazy light sword and this Bruce Lee looking dude and this. I think it was the characters that drew me into Tekken, and I've been a fan ever since. There have been some games that weren't fantastic, but we keep saying Tekken 7, best this generation, and it kind of began around the mid 90s with Tekken and Tekken 2.
Yep, I would agree with that as well. Tekken 7, best of this generation, best Tekken game since Tekken 3 by far.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, we've hit the hour mark, so let's do like 2 more, and then
okay,
we can do part 2 next year or next month or next week.
Year.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, next year. Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, do you want to hit the 2 consoles then, real quickly, while we got this, because 2 consoles came out that year.
Let's do a couple more games and save consoles.
All right. So, go ahead and pull up a couple of big ones here. November. Make sure I get the right for the States one. November 5th, Twisted Metal.
Ooh. Wow.
On the PS1. Twisted Metal is now 25 years old this year.
That's hard to believe.
Yes. I played a lot of this game. I think I probably played more of 2, but the first game I have nothing but love for. It kind of began the car combat craze for me. It can't be the first car combat game, period. I imagine there was some like stuff on NES or something that had been there before, but
there was nothing quite. If there was a car combat game, there was nothing quite like Twisted Metal. It just did everything right.
And people keep mentioning Vigilante 8, but that Vigilante 8 would not exist without Twisted Metal.
Exactly.
And it's too bad that when 9 took over around Twisted Metal 3, those 2 were bad. I was at 4, I forget. But the first couple of games, David Jaffe, the man who created the God of War, created the Twisted Metal, and so much fun and so dark. Oh my god, dark,
it's very dark.
Especially the PS3 the redo, which I do enjoy, but that story mode is, even for me at that age, it's like, oh my god, this is too much. But great game.
It's amazing that the Twisted Metal redo just didn't catch on. It felt like just kind of happened, and now there's like no expectation of a Twisted Metal ever happening again.
Which is sad, because I thought that PS3 game was good and people enjoyed it, and it's just sad. I wonder if it's because Jaffe kind of backed out of. He's been kind of out of the limelight for a while,
Yeah, he did that arena shooter Drawn to Death a few years
which is
ago.
bad. Which is bad.
Yeah, it has a really cool art style, but it's just I
It's just
played
too
it
much in your.
once.
It's too much in your face of yeah. Like, oh god, too
Hmm.
much. No.
I didn't play a whole lot of like the original Twisted Metal. I'll tell you, I did play a lot of Twisted Metal Black on the
Yes.
PlayStation 2, and that came out in
Yes.
2001, I believe. That was like one of the first like big PlayStation 2 games in that
Also had
monumental year.
online functionality.
Black did?
Hmm. They may have released a separate version of Black Online,
Yeah, I think they would have had to because it was like 2 or 3 years before the modem released.
but I remember people were playing a lot of Black online.
Interesting. Um, yeah, I Black was so good.
Yeah, yes, yeah, it still holds up to this day. Let me throw a couple more at you real quick.
What would you have to see? How do you think they could do like a new Twisted Metal? Like what would you need to throw in there to make Twisted Metal work in today's day and age?
Make it more, make it more Smash TV like. Make it more of like a death game show. I think
Mm.
with the PS3 version was, kind of just dark and gritty, and I am like this. It's this Ghost Rider, and it's this Blade, and it's just like that. I was like, it's stop depressing me. Like I understand you don't have to go like full on like horror movie. They made it more like a little more colorful, a little more Smash TV, Running Man, like death game show stuff. I'd be kind of down for that.
Man, you talk about a game that could kind of capture that Fortnite craze. You know, kind of that Fortnite lightning in a bottle craze. Twisted Metal could definitely do that.
Or the more I say this, how about a Smash TV battle royale? Oh my
Yeah.
god, big money, big prizes. Oh, I love it.
But no,
I love the game.
I mean, you could do all these unlocks for customizing your car and everything and decking it out,
Yes,
and then you could sell different decals and stuff like that for your cars.
you could even go the free to play, like the Killer Instinct route, where hey,
Yeah,
here's your rotating ones, or pay $20 and get everybody. That kind
yeah,
of
you
deal.
could
So,
definitely do that.
I don't know. All right, let me throw a couple more at you. End of October, we got a great PC game. Actually, was it July or October? Wikipedia. Star Wars TIE Fighter. I played a bunch of TIE Fighter on the PC with my arcade stick that I had back in the day.
That was one that I would have loved to have jumped on back in the day.
I'm going to throw out in the arcades a little shooter game called Time Crisis.
Ooh,
Hit in December. And a game called Worms.
ha,
That
worms.
craze began in 1995. Looks like it hit in October in the States.
Man, it's hard to believe that that's only 25 years. I would have thought that was older.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, but we can go into stuff because obviously two big consoles came out that year. We can go more to 95 because it's a big year. Also worth mentioning, you had said the 30th anniversary of Mario Brothers 3.
That's right. Just yesterday, February 12th, marked the 30th anniversary of the US launch of Super Mario Brothers 3. You talk about we could do a whole show on this actually. You talk about a monumental game that really changed the landscape. It was the best-selling game of all time for, many years. What are your memories of Mario 3?
God. I mean, the whistles.
The whistles.
Knowing exactly where they were, how to get them, how to get to World 8. It was just, and then doing it every time. I can still do it to this day. And getting my order, all the mini games, the sliding cards to fit the right face, and see my first time seeing the ghosts, and it was in the Tanuki suit.
Mm-hmm.
Just that game just blew me away. It was incredible.
I remember, like towards the Christmas season, we got a big box, like our big package of different presents and stuff from my uncle, and all the presents were we opened the box, all the presents were wrapped except for one, which was sitting on top of all the other presents unwrapped, Super Mario 3 in all of its glory, and just be like, whoa. Yeah, just
Do you have a copy of that still?
I do. I have that very copy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, Mario 3 was just, I think my dad even played that game. He describes it as just like this odyssey, you know? It was this epic journey. I mean, all the Mario games are this epic journey across different worlds, but there was something really special about Mario 3. It just had this perfection of level design. It was the culmination of everything that had been learned by designers throughout the NES years, all put into this again, just this nearly perfect package. Obviously, you know, we all knew the warp whistle secrets and being able to get through the game really quickly. I remember one Sunday afternoon making it my mission to go through the entire game level by level with no, warp whistles or anything like that. I think I've only done that once, but
that might have begun my hatred for the snow levels. I mean, I know there was ice in Mario Bros. 2, but 3 was kind of like, oh God, I hate this stuff so much.
I know I'm not waxing very poetic right now, but
I guess we could go to a whole show about this.
Yeah, just talk about perfection. And Mario 3 has to be in that short list of games that could be considered perfect.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. All right, I'm going to throw 2 more stats at you real quick.
Okay, 2 more stats. Before we sign off
for the night. So these are the highest rented games of 95, according to Blockbuster Video.
Okay.
In the year of 95. So these games didn't come out in 95 necessarily, but in 95, Blockbuster said this was the game that was the most rented for the SNES and the Genesis.
Okay.
Super Nintendo, topping the list was Donkey Kong Country.
In 95?
In 95 was the highest rented game.
Okay, yep, I could see that.
Granted, that game came out in what, 94?
That came out in 94.
Okay, but it was still the highest rented game even the next year. It peaked at number 1 and it was on the chart for 8 months.
Wow.
For the Sega Genesis, the highest rented game was NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
Okay, that's another 94 release, I'd say.
Yeah, so that was the highest rented Genesis game. Peaked at number 1. It was on there for 6 months.
Wow. That
this
game.
Is cool. It's so cool to kind of go back to this stuff. I found a bunch of old magazines in my parents' basement back in the day. Like, it's kind of cool to kind of thumb through those. Like, oh my God, life was so much simpler back then.
It really was. And what's really hard is it's 9:30 at night and I'm tired. And you talk about these games. It's just like you have like this clump of memories that just hits you all at once, and you got to try and sort it out. But yeah, playing NBA Jam Tournament Edition on I obviously was a Super Nintendo kid, but that was like my favorite sports game.
Yeah. When I went to an arcade, even today, when I go to an arcade, I gotta find the Jam machine or the Blitz machine, and those are the two that I have to hover around because I played the absolute crap out of both of those games on all consoles, all arcades. Those are my 2 favorite sports games.
There's another thing where you just talk about perfection. I know they tried to revive NBA Jam like a decade ago on the
and it was
Wii.
Good. It was fine.
Yeah,
and the 360 had a couple. It was fine.
Looking at like NBA Playgrounds, which tries to be NBA Jam, and it's just not.
It's something's not there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just there's some. Again, it goes back into what I was talking about with Chrono Trigger, where it's just like sometimes things just come together at the perfect time.
Yep.
And you cannot recreate that magic no matter what.
Yep.
And if they put out a new NBA Jam today, I don't know if it would be as good as Tournament Edition.
I would still be as excited for it, but
I would be excited, yeah, but would it be as good as, what we got back then?
To us, no, but to us, no. But to a new generation of fans who didn't grow up with it, I mean, this is going to be their Tournament Edition.
Yeah,
if they do a new one, it's their TE. So, well, should we begin our sign-offs?
Yes, let's go ahead and do sign-offs here. I want to thank everybody for joining us and hanging out. We're here every Thursday nights about this time, talking about the week's events and really whatever we want to talk about.
That's right.
You can find our work, our written words, over at NerdBacon.com. And you can follow me for all of my in-the-moment ramblings over at Dave the Watchman on Twitter.
Okay, so this weekend, shout out to my boys, the Houston Outlaws. They start their Overwatch League season. They're going to play in the Philadelphia homestand. Their first game is Saturday against the Florida Mayhem, and then Sunday against the Washington Justice. Hopefully we go 2-0 there. Also, after we do this, I'm going to take a quick break and come back to the Jeff Roth streams.
Whoa!
We're going to play some Call of Duty because Season 2 just began, some Modern Warfare. Also, perhaps some Street Fighter 5 now that Champion Edition upgrades out for everybody.
Oh, that's right. It is done.
Yes, and also this weekend is the beta for Bleeding Edge, the new Microsoft Overwatch-style Team Ninja game that got announced at E3. The beta is this weekend, the 14th through 16th. If you had Xbox Game Pass on PC, that's how I got mine. So you bet I'll be streaming some of that.
I'll have to check that out.
Yes. Also, I played some PSO2 last night until the servers went down, the Japanese version of it. And it's a great game. I can't wait for the actual version. Anyway, follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/JeffRoth, on Mixer at mixer.com/JeffRoth, on Twitter at JeffRoth, on YouTube at the JeffRoth. And I think that's about it. I forget how many places I am, but yeah, stay tuned after this. I'm going to probably do a bathroom break and then come back for streaming time.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us and hanging out. And yeah, we will see you next week. Until then, remember to game tasty. Have a good night, everybody.
Later.